Yeah. Yeah, he's been talking shit about me for quite a long time. I'm going to shut RK Stud up for the final time. This time he ain't going to be walking out of the beatdown. He's going to be leaving the fucking beatdown. I'm totally going to destroy him in the octagon. He is going to be destroyed. And he will never, never come back to the beatdown ever, ever again. I'm going to make sure of it. He may be a good fighter and all, but you know what? I'm the best.
Yeah. This man Mike, you know, he's been talking on the boards, saying how he's going to whoop me, kick my ass, make sure I don't ever come back to the cage, to the beatdown. You think you're going to put down your own beatdown on me? You know, you're the one that's dodging anything that I say, any of the challenges I make to you, turn away like a scared little bitch that you are. But I tell you, when I get you in that cage and for the beatdown, man, you'll understand what the beatdown is all about. It's all about the RK Stud laying it down on you. And this will be the beatdown.
How many people want to kick some ass?
Hey everybody, welcome to our new series we got on. It's called The Beatdown. And of course my co-host
RK Stud
will be here helping me. We're going to be doing reviews on MMA fighting, the latest UFC fights, DVDs we've watched already,
MMA news,
anything pretty much MMA.
You know, not just UFC, not just Strikeforce, you know. We've got our own backyard thing, the NAAFS on Sports Time Ohio.
We're just going to be reviewing things, our comments on certain things, certain fighters, everything, and what we think should be done a little bit better.
I guess maybe we should start out that I kind of got into UFC back in the early days. I remember I used to be a manager at a now defunct video store, and they had UFCs 3, 4, 5 in. And that's where I got my start. Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock, Chemo, Dan Severn, Don Fry. Then of course, you know, you had that big, well, this needs to be legalized, and people not wanting it on pay-per-view back in the mid-90s and all that. So I kind of got away from it, but, you know, I've kind of watched on and off since UFC and mixed martial arts blown up. Thanks to Madman here, I've gotten back into watching it. So, I'm still pro wrestling. Of course, you all know me from my wrestling videos. I also love UFC and mixed martial arts, and we decided that we would delve into this.
I mean, like I said, you got your wrestling thing. I got my MMA shit. You know, I got into it heavy. You know, at first I didn't think nothing of it. You know, I thought it was just like fucking fake. Like, I hate to say it, I'm sorry, wrestling is. But the more and more I watched it, the more and more I got into this shit. And more I've been watching more and more of it. And it's gotten pretty crazy. We just watched UFC 117 on DVD.
Chael Sonnen against Anderson Spider Silva.
Yeah. That was the bullshit at the end of that fight that I did not care for.
No, Chael did not tap.
He didn't tap. He was trying to get out of the submission. Anyway, we watched it, and we watched it closely. And Chael had it, the whole fucking thing. Won the first 4 rounds. That's 4.
That's 4.
That's fucking 4.
He had it in the bag until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And the phony tap.
Yeah. You know, Anderson, he got lucky on this fight, which really irritated the fuck out of me out of the way. The last fight ended with him. You know, it was the only time that Dana White didn't actually come into the octagon and give Anderson the belt, because there was talks Anderson was going to get fired for pulling that bullshit in the octagon like he did.
Right, there's a point of being entertaining and not being entertaining, and his previous fight, I think he was just being a straight up dick.
Yeah. Well, Chael kind of made me laugh that whole fucking time he was talking shit to Anderson, and Anderson didn't think nothing of it, and everybody thought Chael was not gonna come in and do his thing like he said he was, but man, that impressed the fuck out of me, man. That was give Anderson a fucking run for his money.
He was basically saved.
Yeah. That's what it was. It was a bullshit call. I was not very happy. But now that Chael ain't coming back till what, March now?
March, because he had a little bit higher testosterone. Ugh, please.
No steroids. This is stupid.
Yeah. It could have been a full-blown year.
Yeah.
And that would have been wrong. I don't think the dude is actually on steroids at all.
No.
I think it was just higher testosterone from fighting.
And the anxiousness, you know, the pressure to get into the octagon and shit. This shit causes that. You know, it's not like they're saying yeah, he injected steroids into his... No. This is just one of those things. I just don't really care much. But I would really like to see another fight between him and Anderson Silva. Because I think Anderson needs another ass whooping again.
I think sometime in this year in 2011.
Yeah, I think Anderson deserves to have another ass whooping handed to him.
Maybe that'll be the fight for Brazil.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd love to see him get his ass whooped in Brazil. And Chael just walks away with the title.
There we go.
But like I said, though, too, that was a bullshit call. Chael had the fucking fight won. It wasn't fair. I don't care who's...
4 straight rounds. That's what the beatdown's all about.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, folks, if you got 117 at home, or if you watched it online, watch the last round. You'll actually see for yourself that it was a bullshit call. Because, yeah, Chael was touching a leg, but he was coming down. He wasn't necessarily tapping. He was trying to get himself out of the submission, but Anderson, like I said, got away with it. Judge himself. I want to give it up to Matt Hughes, a.k.a. the Gracie Killer. This is the man who proved Royce Gracie wrong in UFC 60, which I praise the man for. You know, because the man himself is a legend, Matt Hughes is. You know, Gracie with his arrogance and ego says, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is the only thing you should learn to be in the fucking UFC.
And we now know how much of the work that is, because I praised the early days of Royce. Like,
yeah.
Royce is an early legend. And then when you get to Pride 2000 Grand Prix, and he took on Kazushi Sakuraba and had almost that 2-hour fight.
Didn't need to be a 2-fucking-hour fight.
And then he takes on Matt Hughes, and Matt Hughes destroys him in 2 hours. You just know Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is nothing. Obviously know from that, and you know, I kind of do have some MMA ties myself. The legend Mark the Hammer Coleman graduated 10 years ahead of me from my high school, so local name. 10 years above me, and you know, I know his whole family, and he told me a few things on some fights over in Pride I have no problems with, apparently, but there is someone on YouTube that's blasted him for it. And you know what? Dude, if you ever watch this, just lighten up.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, who hasn't taken a dive in fighting? Seriously, who hasn't taken a fucking dive? I mean, if you know very damn well that you're very good at what you do, but somebody wants you to lose just to help improve the other guy, you know, like I said, there ain't nothing wrong with taking a dive every now and then. You know, I'm not saying it should be all the fucking time, but come on.
The fight still looked real.
Yeah, it looked good to me.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I don't care either way, you know? I mean, how many fucking boxing matches have you ever known to be bought and...
And, yeah, Don King's notorious for that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just one of those things that you just gotta... You know, I don't give a shit if Mark Coleman did it. Mark Coleman was sick of his family and... You know, for himself and stuff like that. So that don't bother me.
He did get his second chance in the UFC. You know, obviously, you know, time is passing by. Understandably, I understand.
But it just wasn't, for some reason, it wasn't good enough for Dana White, I guess. We're not insulting Dana. We're not questioning him or anything like that. But, I mean, seriously, Mark Coleman is a good fighter. We've seen a lot of his fights.
Legend, ground and pound.
Mm-hmm. Without him, we wouldn't have ground and pound in UFC. We wouldn't have it now, because he is the one that pretty much invented ground and pound and shit.
Exactly, like I had to show Mikey, and Mikey watched my self-made Mark Coleman DVD, and he, you know, Mikey's learning. I mean, just like Darth Vader said to Obi-Wan, when I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Exactly.
This man knows more than what I thought I knew, and I'm proud of that.
I don't like Gracie. His one brother in Pride was really good. I do not care for the Gracies. I don't give a fuck how good their fucking reputation is. I thank them for bringing UFC here. I thank them for doing that. But that's all the respect they're getting from me.
Not just UFC in particular, but bringing the whole sport of MMA around.
Oh, yeah, that too. But like I said, though, too.
And that's as far as they deserve.
That's exactly. But like I said, the one brother in Pride, he fought really good. I watched him play.
Pride, of course, they were with UFC, and then they went off. I believe they started like 3 or 4 other different MMA special pay-per-views that are like no longer around.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show off the Gracie clan.
The reason why I call Matt Hughes the Gracie Killer, because basically he's destroyed, Royce Gracie destroyed one of his brothers in UFC, and he's destroyed a student of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And basically Matt Hughes did prove the Gracies wrong. You don't need to learn nothing else basically of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in order to make it, but that's wrong. You need everything else to make it in MMA. You cannot just learn one thing anymore and hope to God to make it in the UFC. You can't do that anymore. It's just, that's why I praise Matt Hughes for doing what he did. And on the 60 DVD, I was watching the post-fight interview, and Matt Hughes says that he would have let me break his arm. He was that fucking stubborn. He would have let me break his arm in that submission. So he says I just pounded the shit out of him, basically. And you know, fucking John McCarthy calls it, and that was it. Gracie was, you know, the disappointment look in everybody's faces and shit. You know, like I said, your days are numbered, Gracie. I'm sorry to say that. I hate saying it, but you know, if you weren't so arrogant and stuff like that in your jiu-jitsu and stuff, you probably would have done a lot better. But it's
and having your own special rules for your fights in tournament.
Oh yeah, that Pride Grand Prix, man, that really pissed me off, man. Like I said, I was sitting there watching it for about 15 or 30 minutes, and it was still, the motherfucker was still going on. And the thing was, I woke up about an hour later, the motherfucker was still going on. I still had 15 fucking minutes to finish it up. Seriously, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and watch it, because all he's doing, he's just laying on top of him, hoping to get a fucking submission, and Sakuraba's actually beating the fuck out of him, just basically pounding his ass and shit like that.
What is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu anyway? Is it you just lay on top, grab a boner, and then the people tap? Is that what it's supposed to be? Come on.
I mean, seriously, that was the most boring of boring fights I've ever fucking seen in MMA.
I'm not saying he's like the most boring fighter ever, but if you look at his later on fights, they're all kind of, he's just laying on him.
Yeah, it's just, with the early days of UFC, it was brand new. This is when it worked for him. It was basically, they came in, and you know, the opponents he came up against were half-cocked. They come in there thinking that they're going to beat this small little dude. And
Either that, or they got some of that
Yeah,
themselves.
that's what I think. Sometimes I think that's the reason why I think he won the first umpteenth fights and shit like he did. I think there's a little bit of payoff from there somewhere. I think that's what it is. There's no way a small man... But I did praise Chemo, though. He did put Gracie out of commission in UFC 3.
See, this is how far back we're going.
Yeah.
We're talking as it is. As it was and as it is now.
It is. And that was probably the one... I actually applauded Chemo for doing that. You know, more... Because like I said, I just now got all 10 first UFCs. I just now got them watching all 10 of them.
See, and you can see the varying differences from 1 to 10.
Yeah, yeah. And Chemo came in after he found out he wiped Gracie out of the competition. I was like, thank you, Chemo. Thank you. You know, basically, you know, now I ain't gonna sit there and watch him, you know.